Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Allie. If you're new to my channel, welcome. So today's video is actually going to be my birth story. I've kind of been putting off posting this. Last week I did not post a video because I was sick and I didn't get around to doing it. So let's just get straight into it. So my birth story starts a week before I actually did give birth. So a week before I gave birth, that Thursday, I had gone to the hospital for a severe headache and nausea that wasn't going away with Tylenol and like rest and water and everything. I had called and they told me to come in just to see if everything's okay, because those can be signs of preeclampsia. And so yes, I went in. They put me on the monitor for about 20 minutes and they decided everything was okay, and they were just going to give me something for the headache and for the nausea. And so they gave me Benadryl for the headache. I don't know why, I'm not a doctor. And then they gave me Phenergan for the nausea. And I was super swollen at this time as well. I just want to put this out there. I couldn't fit my feet into shoes like at all anymore. I was very, very swollen, noticeably swollen. But there wasn't consistency in my prenatal care with doctors, so it probably wasn't picked up on as appropriately as it should have been. But so they gave me the Phenergan, and I ended up having an allergic reaction to the Phenergan, and I went into anaphylactic shock. And it also caused me to panic, and it caused a spike in my blood pressure, so they ended up keeping me there for 4 hours, and they also tested my urine to see if there was any protein in it, and there happened to be protein in it, but my blood pressure didn't spike at all. It actually dropped significantly right before I was about to leave, and they were like, so they let me go. And they told me to come back on Saturday for another blood pressure check, and if there was any rise in my blood pressure, to come back in and I would be induced. When I went back in on Saturday, my blood pressure looked normal, and they didn't test my urine again because the doctor was fine with the amount of protein that was in the urine from the test that they did Thursday. So they sent me home. I went a week from that Saturday. I had an appointment on the Friday following, and she stripped my membranes, and she set up an induction date in case I go past my due date. This was a date that I was going to be able to get induced. Well, she stripped my membranes, and then the next day my water broke. So I went in to the labor and delivery ward Saturday, August 18th at about 3:45, 3:55, my water broke, and I got there maybe at 4:30 because they told me to like take a shower, eat, you know, take your time. And so that's what I did, and I got there at 4:30, and she checked me, and it was amniotic fluid for sure. They admitted me, and they gave me like an IV so that they could get blood as needed and all of that stuff. So when I got there, I was like 2 centimeters, like 60% effaced, something like that. When they kept checking me, I wasn't progressing, so they ended up giving me Pitocin, and they gave me Pitocin, I'm gonna say it was probably like 11 or midnight, and my mom had already left because they told me I wasn't having a baby tonight, like there was nothing to worry about, and I sent my mom home, which was a mistake on my part because this shit kind of hits the fan. So they give me the Pitocin, and a couple hours later my contractions Like, I still haven't fallen asleep. I don't know why. And now I'm uncomfortable as well because the contractions are getting a little bit harder to deal with. And I'm only 4 centimeters at this point. I feel like a big wuss saying that. But, so I asked for something to kind of like take the edge off a little bit because I was in a lot of pain. Well, I don't want to say a lot because it wasn't unbearable. It just wasn't comfortable enough to sleep. And like I knew I needed my rest. So I asked for a little bit of pain medication. And so she gave me, I'm not sure what it was, but it was great. And it took the pain away, but it only lasted 45 minutes. And so after the 45 minutes were up, I gave it a little bit, and then I was kind of like, is there anything else I can get? And she's like, all you can get is an epidural. And I was like, well, then can I get that? And she's like, let's check to see if you progressed at all. And I hadn't really progressed that much. So she was like, let's wait a little bit. And I tried to wait. I gave it maybe like 20 minutes. And I was like, hey, like, I need the epidural. Like, can you give it to me? Like, I need sleep. So she got the anesthesiologist and everything was looking great. They put the epidural in, and my blood pressure drops significantly, and baby's heart rate is dropping as well. So a bunch of nurses rushed in. They had me on all fours, like leaning over, and they had me on oxygen. And he was pumping me full of stuff to rise my blood pressure and stuff, and they were taking some of the epidural out. Like, they were like, you can't have a full dose of an epidural. You're not doing well. So they got rid of the epidural altogether. Okay, like, the epidural catheter stayed in, but there was no medication. So after that happened, because my blood pressure was like dropping and rising and dropping and rising, I was having a lot of nausea and stuff like that, and I just wanted my mom. So my mom ended up showing up, and then the next segment is a blur. So I remember being in so much pain, like the nurse was like massaging me, and I like asked if there was any way they can give me anything, and they were like, well, we can try to give you a little bit of the epidural and see how your body reacts. So they had me on that, and then they gave me like a little bit where I could like click it, and it had to be like spread out so much, and like I was scared to use it, and then I used it, and it like really didn't do anything because I don't believe it had the full dose of anything in it. Like, it was a struggle. I was in so much pain, and the doctor checked me, and baby's heart rate was not staying stable. He had, like, no matter what position I was in or anything like that, she kept threatening me with a C-section. So it got to the point where they had called the C-section doctor in. I was like, okay. And I was in like so much pain at this point. I was like, just like, get him out the safest way possible. And they told me that they were going to put a heart rate monitor on his head because they were having such issues with his heart rate. And so I was under the impression that's what was going on. And then they told me to start pushing. And the issue with this was the baby was not in the position to come out yet. And the C-section doctor told me this, like, every time, because he was there too. It was him, like, a bunch of nurses, and the original doctor, all there. My best friend, Pange, and my mom were all in the room as well. And the lady just kept telling me to push, and he's like not even down far enough where I can help you. He's not facing the right way either. And I'm like, oh my goodness, are you serious? So I was feeling really defeated, and I kept trying, and it wasn't good enough for this lady, and it wasn't good enough to get my baby out. And the lady, like, she would like have everybody in another room, and then she would talk to me and like give me this like pep talk, but it kind of like even lowered my spirits more because it was kind of derogatory towards me. And so it got to the point where the C-section doctor was like, okay, I'm going to tell you what, you can either push for 30 more minutes or I'm taking him out as a C-section. And I was like, okay, take him out as a C-section. Like, I think that's the best option at this case. I'm exhausted. I can't do it anymore. I can't get him out. And my motivation to do it, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm so emotional about this still. But my motivation to do it was gone because the lady kept like belittling me. But I know she was trying to like pep me up, but it didn't come off that way. And she was calling me like a quitter at one point. She was like, "You're not a quitter. Like, are you a quitter?" And blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Okay, a C-section." And then the other doctor goes, "No, you're pushing for 30 more minutes." I was like, "What?" Like, and I'm in tears at this point. Like, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't. I physically cannot. And the lady had everybody get out of the room, and she was like, "Are you a quitter?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "I need you to push for 30 more minutes. Can you do that for me?" And I was like, "I mean, like, I can try. Can I at least try changing positions?" She's like, "You have an epidural." And I was like, "No, I don't. I can feel everything." And she was like, "Well, I had 3 children naturally." I was like, "That's great. Like, I'm not you. Like, I don't know what you want from me." And we tried switching positions, and she was like, "You're not pushing good enough for me, so we have to go back to the other position." I was like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like, this position isn't working. And I wanted to get on all fours because I feel like that would help the most. But she wasn't having it. And I was getting really frustrated with her. And she was like, "Okay, maybe we can get enough epidural in you to kind of knock the edge off of things and you can push him out." And I was like, "Okay, like, ask the anesthesiologist." So she asked the anesthesiologist, and the anesthesiologist came in and was like, "Well, I can do that, but then if you need a C-section, I can't give you anything afterwards." So she was just kind of like I would go with the C-section kind of like deal. Like, that's how it felt when she was talking to me. I was like, and everybody was like yelling what they think I should do. And then all of a sudden my nurse stepped in and was like, "Allie, it's really 110% up to you. I'm so sorry for this lighting. It's 110% up to you. You have to make the final decision. Do you want a C-section or do you want to push?" And I said, "A C-section, please." And so they prepped me for a C-section, and I was like, "I just need this pain to stop. Like, get rid of it, please." And so they prepped me for it and everything, and I went, and I had the doctor, not the C-section doctor, but the doctor came in. She's like, "I'm here for moral support." I'm like, "No, I have my mom, thank you." And so the anesthesiologist was pumping things in me to keep my heart rate up while I had the epidural and all of this stuff. And all of a sudden, they pull my baby out of me. And there was no cry or anything. And I gave it a little bit. I gave it what felt like an eternity. And I looked at my mom and I said, "Why isn't he crying?" And then we heard the faintest cry. And he was being rushed away. I didn't get to see him. Which I think felt really, really hard for me. And they brought me back to my room and they told me that he was going to the NICU over at Portsmouth because there wasn't a good enough NICU set up at Langley. And I get to see him before he leaves. But not for long. And it was really, really hard for me to hear that, I think. And so I got to see him before he left, and then I had my mom go with him because I wanted someone there with him. I wanted someone he knew. And my, at one point my mom came to visit me, and after you have a C-section, or I'm assuming any surgery, they have you like kind of walk around, and it's supposed to help you heal a little bit better and get back to your normal self and everything. And I was still in the maternity ward, and they had me walking around, and I could hear the newborn babies crying in the other rooms, and I was like, Mom, I need to go back to my room. Like, I can't do this. Like, I'm tired. And it was really, really difficult. For me, I would try pumping because I really wanted to breastfeed, but because he wasn't there, I couldn't actually breastfeed. And then even when I got to see him, he was in the NICU and he was hooked up to stuff, and it was, we tried breastfeeding, but I obviously, like, couldn't do it for every feeding, and I was getting really discouraged, and I ended up getting admitted to the hospital, which will be in a part 2 to this video. So breastfeeding didn't go well, and I was really hard on myself about that, and all in all, everything, I was so hard on myself, and I still am hard on myself about everything. I feel like my body, like, failed me in a way, because my body was made to deliver a child and to have a child, and it couldn't do it. So I ended up being diagnosed with preeclampsia after my pregnancy, for the duration of my pregnancy, because at the ending of my pregnancy, I was gaining 6 pounds a week, pretty much, just in fluid retention. So thank you for watching this video. If you want more pregnancy or DJ related videos, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe and comment down below with any video suggestions. I'll talk to you later. Bye.